The saga that is Peter Parker's life continues in the pages of Spider-Man Life Story issue number 2. Let's hop on in together and find out what happens next, shall we? Alrighty then, so picking up from where the last issue left off, we continue to be treated to interesting snapshots of Spider-Man's life throughout the decades. As we join this comic, it's 1977. Peter Parker is paying respects at the gravesite of Flash Thompson, his former bully turned friend who didn't make it home from Vietnam. Gwen Stacy, Peter Parker's wife, says that he needs to learn to let things go once in a while, that he's way too burdened by the past. And besides, he's got a lot to really be happy about right now. Like I said, he's married to Gwen, the love of his life. He also has an amazing new job at the Future Foundation under Reed Richards, who in this new universe looks even slicker and even more 70s than he was in comics that were actually coming out in the 70s. Unfortunately though, Peter can't even find solace in work, as he and Richards have many ethical divides, mainly about what superheroes should be doing to help the war effort. Yes, you heard me right, war effort. You see, it's 1977 and the Vietnam War isn't over. In fact, it only seems to continue to ramp up, with even more superheroes like Giant Man and War Machine joining the fight on Tony Stark Iron Man's behalf. Peter thinks that people with powers have responsibilities to step on in and help things out when they get too bad, but Reed is of a completely different mind, feeling that he shouldn't upset the apple cart too much. Oh, and before I forget, Doc Ock also works at the Future Foundation now. He's a good guy in this timeline, is dating Aunt May, and is technically Peter's step-uncle, and believe it or not, that's not the weirdest, craziest thing in this issue. Speaking of Spider-Man villains, we also see whatever happened to Norman Osborn. He's still behind bars right now, but we see even while in prison, he still has his hooks into his son, Harry, who's doing everything he can to try and shepherd the Osborns' company through the recession. Daddy Not-So-Dearest tells Harry that he needs him to intercede in something called Project Gemini, and soon, whatever that is. Perhaps it has something to do with Gwen Stacy's new job. She's working as a geneticist at a new startup company begun by their old teacher, Dr. Miles Warren. They're using advanced cloning techniques to create brand new limbs for amputees. Even Kirk Connors isn't the Lizard anymore thanks to their good work, and because Miles Warren is working with clones, you can pretty much tell where this is gonna go. Now, Peter and his wife clock off work that night to go meet some friends in the city, namely Mary Jane Watson, who is actually dating Harry while also becoming something of a hot disco DJ in New York's music scene. Harry and MJ, as we discover, are also super into drugs, super nondescript drugs, as was the style at the time, and they think Peter's a total square, man. Always coming in all holier than thou, like he's better than everyone, like he has the weight of the world on his shoulders or something. Can't do nondescript drugs with the rest of us. At first, Pete just thinks MJ is high, which is why she's acting so mean right now, only for MJ to break down and say that she's mad at Peter for not saving Flash's life. Oh yeah, that's right everyone, MJ is totally aware that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. She's known since she was 15. She was his next door neighbor after all. Jeez man, this is like the opposite of "Hey Tiger, you hit the jackpot." Needless to say, this condemnation from such a close friend really causes Peter to spiral out of control, so much to the point that he even picks a fight with Reed Richards at work that next day, saying that, hey, you're the holier than thou one, you have amazing inventions that could help out the world, but you hoard them. Maybe if you acted like a human being once and not some almighty alien, your wife wouldn't have left you for a man who lives under the sea. And then Reed slaps the taste out of Pete's mouth, deservedly so. So yeah, needless to say, Pete burnt that bridge and isn't going to be able to go back to work there. Luckily, Miles Warren was sure to offer him a gig at his lab. Unfortunately, Peter better hurry because that lab is under attack by a brand new yet still totally familiar villain calling himself the Black Goblin. Yeah, there's no Hobgoblin in this universe, only a Black Goblin. Luckily, Spider-Man is able to make the scene and confront this new foe, who is so obviously clearly Harry Osborn. It's also here we get a much better look at Spider-Man's 70s costume, and I like that even it has evolved with the times. He's got like pauldrons on his shoulders and armor on his legs. It's a very interesting suit. Now, as we discover, Project Gemini is unsurprisingly a cloning project that Miles was hired by Norman Osborn to perpetrate. Only here's the thing, Norman paid for 2 clones, a Norman clone of himself that he could pin all his crimes on, and a Peter clone who he could raise like a son to take over his company. But there's also a 3rd Gwen Stacy clone, because Miles Warren is a giant obsessive creep bag, don't you know? This revelation that his father was still using him and had had no intention of actually handing control over the company to Harry, drives him over the edge for a little bit, and he tries to kill Spider-Man before Peter's eventually able to talk him back down. But sadly not before a crazed Harry vows to destroy the entire building and the cloning project with it. Gwen demands that the clones be saved from the wreckage though, but by the time Peter is able to get inside the building, only the Peter clone is left alive. This shouldn't be too much of a problem, only at 100% is when Miles Warren eventually admits that that cloned Gwen wasn't a clone at all. It was the real one, and the Gwen Peter has been married to has been a clone. That might all sound complicated, but I assure you this still makes 100% more sense than the actual clone saga ever did. Now from here we actually flash forward one more year to 1978. The clones have now taken new names, Ben and Helen, haha, I see what you did there. They're finally ready to move out of New York and start a brand new life. Mary Jane is helping them out, having received a bunch of money from Harry Osborn, who might be dead, in jail, or missing. It's a little hard to tell. Everyone is pretty happy with this turnout except for Peter himself, whose life has been utterly destroyed. The woman he loved is gone, so is his job and his best friend. The only person in the world he has left to lean on to sympathize with him is, well, Mary Jane herself, and their relationship takes a major turn as the comic comes to a close. And so that was Spider-Man Life Story issue number 2, everybody, and while it might be a little too early to call only 2 issues into a series, I truly think we are seeing the beginning of Chip Zdarsky's Spider-Man masterpiece. The second issue is actually a lot more complex and layered than the first one is, mainly because the first one worked so well as just a 60s snapshot. This is both a sequel to that story, and indeed, that this is going to be straight up alternate history fiction right here, with Spider-Man and his relationship with other characters in his life serving as the backbone and heart of the story. In only 2 issues, Chip Zdarsky has managed to create a thinking, feeling, breathing universe all its own. I feel the same way reading this as I did reading the Ultimate Universe when that first began. It's creating a world of infinite possibilities, while also offering up smart, interesting, and thoughtful remixes on classic Spider-Man storylines. Like, this video is already going long, but I feel like I could do a whole other video just on all the different little references that Zdarsky works in here about Spider-Man's greater overall history. I would give this one a 9.5 out of 10. It was truly wonderful, and this is an easy shoe-in for must-read series moving
Hey there,
forward.
everyone. It's your old pal Cape Joel again. I want to thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed what you saw, and if you did, why not take a closer look at some of these other videos I have available from the channel. Then you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook at Cape Joel, so you're always up to speed on what I'm doing next. And hey, if you're in a supportive mood, why not check out my Patreon page? Patrons get exclusive access to videos and content before anyone else, and you can do so for as little as $1 a month. I would really appreciate it, and with that, I will be sure to be back again next time with even more great comic content that smacks of greatness. Bye-bye, everyone.